What is up, gang? It is Spudrifle here at Flak Cannon Gaming, where today we are going to be playing a solo on Sanhok in PUBG, and we're going to be talking about how smarter movement can make you a better player and place you higher in the standings. We are going to be aiming for a top 5 finish here, simply by moving across the map in a clever way. So buckle up and let's see how we do as we get into moving smart on PUBG. So the first thing we're going to want to have a look at, obviously, is the flight path, and the plains line here is a north to south or slightly southwest that goes straight over the biggest red zone of them all, boot camp. So we're expecting quite a few people to drop there. There will be a few people that drop to Paradise as well, looking for a fight early on, and other hot spots across the map I'm going to mark are kind of here and here, which are quite popular because of the amount of loot you can get in a quick time. What we are going to do, and what I recommend doing in solo at all times, is look for a very unassuming area of the map, somewhere you don't think anyone else is going to think that is a good place to drop. So quick look at the skies around us. I think it's a miracle there's absolutely nobody in the air nearby. So that means most people would have dropped at boot camp, and we don't have to panic about grabbing a gun and a vest as quickly as possible for that early drop fight. But we've got a vest straight away. I'll fast forward this bit whilst I get looted, suited and booted, and then we will pick up on how we're going to move around on this map in more detail. Thus far, not the best amount of loot. So level 1 backpack and vest only, no scopes whatsoever. So perhaps that unassuming spot was unassuming for a good reason, but usually 3 houses would sort me out as a solo. Gonna go up to this little lookout platform now, have a look to see if I can find anything in the form of a scope. There we go, that's good. Extended for my Tommy gun, that's lovely. Flash hider as well, I'm enjoying that. Would love a bag or a level 2 anything though, so yeah. Right, I'll have a look at the zone once I've taken refuge behind this rock. So we're just about crept into the south point of the zone. Yeah, we heard some noise coming from our west, so probably over here, maybe as far as Nakam. What we're going to want to do next then is get a little bit more central. So there are 2 ways you can play PUBG. You can either kind of move to the centre points of the zone, or certainly the vantage points that you know there to be within the centre. So kind of the hills near Paradise would be a good place to be right now, albeit there will be quite a few people around. There's a good hill just south of boot camp here, which is probably one of the higher points of this island. And yeah, probably north of Quarry anyway is probably where I'd want to be ideally. That's if you wanted to play central. There's the other option is to hug the line and stay on the edge of the zone. So where I am now, I could just wait for people to come in and face outwards, because I know that they're going to be coming from the blue zone towards me. But what I'm going to do, of course, in this map is talk about how I would move across the map. So I think that bridge there is probably looking likely to be the best one for me. I might actually get as close to Painan as I can, where I know that there's a little footing that I don't have to go into the water before I stretch out into kind of this area and just west of Quarry. So that's what we'll do. We'll head towards Painan. We'll get a little bit more loot, hopefully from this this next cluster of houses, if the doors are all closed and they haven't been touched. And then we'll take it from there. So we managed to get a little bit more loot there. We got our backpack, we got level 2 stuff, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. There is vehicle noise coming from kind of our southwest. He's just going across the road now. I don't suspect he'll be a problem. And one thing we're going to be doing quite a lot of in this video is avoiding conflicts we don't need to take on. So if we see somebody, be it in a vehicle or quite far away, that we don't think we can get the jump on them all that easy, and they have definitely not spotted us in return, then we are going to avoid that fight. So it may be a little bit boring for some of you, but I think it's a discipline that comes along with placing higher in PUBG It's all about that skill of avoiding unnecessary gunfights and therefore keeping your position masked, so making sure that nobody knows exactly where you are. I'm just going to stop talking for a second as I go through Painan because footsteps and noises are my friend. So I'm hearing some distant gunfights going on, but nothing befitting anyone in Painan, so I feel like I'm safe to kind of run into the trees here without getting shot in the back from anyone that would have otherwise been heard running around in those nearer buildings to me. So what we've done there is moved slightly further into the zone, not necessarily the centre by any stretch, but we've taken to areas and kind of chunks of the map that we don't think people are going to be occupying. We've used shadows, we've used trees, we've used height and ledges to our advantage. So an example here is I'm just having a quick look back on Painan to make sure there's nobody following my footsteps, and I've got obviously the third person angle here in this mode with the rock at my advantage to make sure that they probably can't see me. If they can see me, it's just my feet. And yeah, there's nobody following me from Painan, so we're safe to proceed. And I'm almost at my first marker where we'll probably take refuge in some foliage, sticking to the shadows again, keeping our eyes and ears open. So we've got vehicle noise up on 60. One tip that I cannot stress enough is a headset. Even if you're playing PC, getting a good kind of Turtle Beach style headset is just paramount to success in this game and so many others now, where footsteps and that kind of 360 surround sound really does save your life on more than one occasion. So yeah, invest in one of those if you haven't got one already. We're tending towards our yellow marker now, so let's have a look what the route might be next. So zone's coming in 1 minute's time. We've kind of started with an unassuming drop, which was down here. We've moved kind of through this building because we needed a little bit more than what we got at that start, and then we stuck to the outskirts of Painan, taking precautions as we approached to make sure there was nobody nearby or in any of the near buildings, and we've moved into a hilly and woody area for cover. Obviously at the moment we haven't had to draw our weapons. We probably won't be doing too much of that in this fight. We're down to 37 alive already, so we've outlasted 63. There's somebody running up the hill there coming out of Painan, so this is why it's always better to look towards the edge of the zone than it is towards the centre of it. Because most people, probably 95% of people, and those that aren't in vehicles certainly, will be running in the direction of the centre of the zone. So one to keep your eye out for. We didn't take that gunfight on. As I said, we're going to be concentrating on movement in this video. Looks like we're just about in the next zone, but we probably don't want to stick to the outskirts of it too much. If I was taking on fights more freely, I think I would stay here for a little longer, because I can expect some people to come towards me from either those buildings that are to my southwest, or from Painan, as that last chap just did. But we are going to instead crawl for a little bit, get out of this red zone, which has just befallen me, and move towards the centre a little bit more. Clusters of rocks on this map are abundant, and they're really good for kind of covering more than one direction. So where you want to get a bit more shielding from not just gunshots but visibility. The whole purpose of PUBG for me is staying undetected. So if nobody knows where you are, you've got a really good chance of winning. And if everyone knows where you are, you've got a really good chance of dying. So the best way to position yourself higher and get more first placed or top 5s or top 10s is to remain undetected and try not to give your position away. And to that effect, I would say the best way of moving is on foot and or crawling and kind of crouching, because that way you're not giving any audio cues out as much as you are visual cues. So you can see I'm just sticking to kind of the longer grass as I crawl around here. All I'm really doing at this point is surveying what's around me. There's only 26 others alive, and I'm facing again towards the outside of the zone. If you can see on the map, I'm looking towards the edge and towards some buildings where I would anticipate most people that were around me, if they were there, would be coming from. Certainly getting into those shadows, I think, is what I'm going to do next, and just behind this tree next to me. And we've got our next zone to contend with. So, bit of a stinker this one, because Quarry is not a nice place to play. So the next zone is in, and we've got 30 seconds or so to start moving. The path of least resistance for me, given that this is quite a sparse area of the map, that not many people would have dropped with the flight path that we had, I'm actually going to go as east as possible before I start going north. And come up the other side of the quarry, where I think that there's going to be fewer people to combat, and I'm hoping that will pay dividends in terms of our placement here. We're almost into the top 20. I would be sad if we didn't get a top 10 finish, if I'm honest. And obviously we're aiming for a top 5 before we open fire and start really going for the win. But let's see what it does to us with the zone coming in now. So I'm just kind of riding that wave and playing the edge, which I think we've already mentioned is one of the ways of playing this game, rather than kind of getting central as early as possible. All the gunshots are now to my west, which is what I was expecting. There may well be somebody up on this next hill, so I think these houses that we're now approaching are the biggest risk we've faced yet. But people should be jumping out of them now. I've got healing items, so I'm happy to take... I've got a few healing items, not many. Happy to take a little bit of a hit from the blue zone here, but I'm expecting if somebody was in these buildings, they'd be hopping out around about now. Yeah, the doors are open, someone's already left. So we're still moving towards our yellow marker, which is that area there. Whether or not we get that close, I don't know, because that's actually right on a building. Which is again going to be quite a popular place to be. I'm just really riding this blue wave at the moment, so it's quite hard to see people on the backdrop of the blue sometimes, and certainly on this map where there's quite a lot of obstacles and trees and woods. So it's quite a good thing to do in terms of your movement, is to stick to that edge. You only have got one area to worry about then, and that's kind of central area rather than the on the outskirts. We are now in the zone. We're going to just take 5 here. So the next zone is basically the middle of this zone again, so it's been a really polarizing one, I would say. It's pulling everyone in all the time. No one's sat still. I don't think many people would have been in the centre of Quarry before that anyway. This is my only area of concern, is that building down there right now. I don't think there's going to be many people immediately upon me, but there may be somebody sat in there waiting to hop out when the blue zone comes in. Okay, blue zone is coming in again. Nobody's hopped out of there. So we are now going to move into probably the southeast point of the zone, into Quarry. So a little bit down the hill. Using that ridge, if you can see, to my right, just to keep myself hidden. There's somebody down on the road, so I think that's probably going to be our first encounter that we have to take on, because that guy's going to see us. So we're going to get rid of him, and we're going to just tuck ourselves in. Probably move up across this this fence next. I'm going to use my full med kit here. It's a bit of an overkill maybe. Yeah, I'll do that after the zone's eaten me actually. So there's a car here that doesn't look like it's a spawn car, so that's the first telltale sign that somebody's around. That almost looks like someone, doesn't it? Right, let's use my full med kit, because I don't actually have that many overhealers to use. The next zone is kind of ahead of us, north. So Quarry is a real stinker. If anyone is south of the Quarry now, they've got the worst way through. So you can see that guy in the very middle. I'm not going to shoot him because I don't want to give my position away, but he's got so many eyes trained on him, I'm sure. What we're going to use is this concrete base over this fence, which does have a few gaps in it, but not ones that I'm worried about unduly. I think there's somebody up on that cliff edge. Oh, somebody's shooting towards us, maybe? Maybe that wasn't us. Just have a quick floozy in these buildings to make sure there's nobody in there right now. Also no overhealers that we could have stolen, because that would have been useful. I still think that the best place for me is next to this concrete. There is going to be somebody to our right though, surely. Yeah, so the reason I haven't taken too many gunfights on, other than that one that we killed, it's essentially the biggest tip I can give you is to just not take on gunfights. So there's a guy down there now. I could poke my head up, probably shoot him in the back, probably get the kill. I don't need to do that yet, because I can have a look what the zone is like next. I can not give my position away for a few more seconds. There's already a gunfight going on, for example. There we go, so the zone is now in. I am very close to it. I'm pretty happy about that. Don't think I can quite get in to the zone from where I'm at. But we know where one of the players is that's remaining. So we have reached the top 5. So we've moved quite smartly. We've avoided conflict. We've stayed undetected. We've used foliage, obstacles and shadows to our advantage. And obviously this concrete base, which is my best friend. And we've just been patient throughout to make sure that we got to this top 5, and now we're in the top 3. And we know where one of the last 3 is. So there's one guy down there. He's given his position away, so we're hoping that the last undetected guy knows where he is as well. Is the last undetected guy just up there? Are my eyes deceiving me? I think I might just about be in the zone here, but also that I also think that I'm going to get chewed. Oh, yeah, he was up there. Right. So now it's panic stations. We've got to take this gunfight on. We've got to kill this guy. Where are you, you bugger? Excellent. Well, I think he knows where I am. We're in the top 2 though. Quite happy about that. You see how I used the building to make sure that I wasn't getting shot at for too long. But the grenade that the other guy threw at us will have given us away somewhat. The concrete pillar is my friend. That's a C4. So he's thrown the C4 there, so let's think about how his movement is going to play. He's going to go this side, and he's going to come up this side of the hill here. He's going to want to distance himself from that horrible explosion. I'm just going to use my last healing item, and then we will get our Tommy gun out for the win. Come on then. Up you pop. Bugger. should have had the aim down sight on there, but we made it to second. It was quite an uneventful one from us, really. We played the edge for the most part. We dropped in an unassuming location. We marked our route in, and we kind of stuck to our guns there. But if I'm honest, we didn't have anything that made us pivot, so we didn't kind of encounter any massive challenges, which meant we had to turn around and go a different direction. So the zones weren't too kind to us. The quarry finish was pretty disgusting, but we finished second. And if I was a bit smarter and just had my my gun up towards the end there, as soon as I stood up, I should have got my aim down sight active, and I might have won it. But we came second. So that is how you can use smarter movement in PUBG. That was on Sanhok, but it works on many maps to get to a better place in the match. So to recap then, if you can drop in a location that's fairly unassuming, that you think nobody else is going to pick, but is still going to give you a reasonable amount of loot, that's a good way to get started. Then you can either play the edge of the zone and ride that blue zone wave as we did in that match, or you can try and get a little bit more central early doors. But patience and then the discipline of not taking on gunfights that you don't need to take. Those are two of the best ways of staying alive, but of course it all boils down to not giving your position away. So if someone knows where you are, you have to kill them, or you have to run in an unpredictable direction and reposition yourself on the map. As I did towards the end there, where I got into that building and I got a bit lucky with the other two kind of then getting into a fight. But we got a top 2 finish by being patient and by moving smartly across the map. And if I had my scope up at the end there when I popped my head up from the concrete that was otherwise hiding me so well, perhaps I could have got a dinner. But that is going to wrap it for today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments what you would have done differently, what your favourite kind of strategies are as well for a top placed finish, and anything else that you might want to say. Until next time though, see you later.